Yeah, we do have a thing to talk about today.
And
Hello,
Dawn's here,
everybody.
so we have a Dawn rule.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Push to Talk. By the way,
I feel like you've already used that up, guys.
I know.
yeah. Well, we always use it up. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, we're sorry we're late. We had
there were some technical difficulties. There were some, some issues with pinging and all that kind of jazz. We got that sorted out. Thank you very much, Apple Pear, by the way. But yeah, welcome everybody to another episode. Yeah, what are we going to? We're going to talk about all sorts of things. I think there's been a lot of people flailing and kind of going a little bit crazy throughout the world, not just including Eve, but like we will definitely talk about Eve. Just not right now.
As always.
As always, yes, because Dawn is here. The Dawn rule does apply. No talking about Eve for 20 minutes.
Okay, the timer starts at what, 1:14?
Something like that.
The first thing we're going to point out is that Mac didn't change the title yet.
I have changed the title.
We are still Imperium News with title, streaming Eve Online.
I literally have. I'm looking at it right there, saying, "At the McLeod, change the title to Push to Talk."
And then it responds with "at the McLeod title."
Yep, it doesn't like you.
Mother of God, Jesus Christ! Why is?
These are the sorts of technical difficulties that we are dealing with. It's
There, I got it. It's fine. I got it. Don't touch anything. I did it.
Thank you very much.
One time we had a Thursday, we had a title war where like 4 of us were trying to change the title at the same time, but not to the same thing. So you watch like Greg go, then me go, then Mifune go, then Dinja go, and just like every single one.
So just abuse of that title kind of fucking bot, and clearly that's probably one of the things that broke it.
You are responsible for the fact that Mac can't do these things properly.
Well done.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
This was like months ago.
And that is the reason why.
It's your fault.
And that is the reason why I've disrespected you in terms of putting that avatar.
I like it. What are you talking about?
It's a great
thing. 2 of my favorite things.
I thought that might be the thing. I was like, dinosaurs. You always talk about dinosaurs, and you always have like your cats.
I don't even like dinosaurs that much, but the game's fun. But
that's a shaved cat. That's a bit.
Well, I mean, I was doing a bit of a Google image search, and I saw some ones that were way worse than that. So that at least looks as though it was photoshopped rather than actually, rather than a cat being abused. So.
Yeah. So since we have the Dawn rule, and I've been on vacation, I get to talk about myself for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, sort of. Yes, you kind of do. Where have you been then?
I went to Niagara Falls with my Dutch friend who was here.
Went to Canada.
Yeah. So my Dutch friend arrived last week Friday, and we drove to the middle of Ohio, which has a big open air safari called the Wilds, and we got to be like up and close and personal with donkeys, like really rare donkeys, cattle, rhinos, giraffes, zebras, all that fun stuff, cheetahs. And then the next day we drove to Niagara Falls and we stayed on the Canada side. By the way, Canadian border agents have no sense of humor. Do not joke with them. They are not about that life.
Well, I mean, it's just because you're American, Dawn. Like, the Canadians are fine with the rest of us.
Sure. Oh, the funny story, like every single border agent, because he's got a Dutch passport and I've got an American passport, they're always like, how did you two meet? And we have to go online. And they're like, how long have you known each other? 13 years. Because they think that we're trying to have like a green card marriage every time, no matter where we go. They always think that we're just trying to hook up so that way he can get into the US for free or some shit. I'm like, that's not quite how this works.
See, I don't think I've ever talked to a border agent. No,
Well,
I'm pretty sure I've never talked to a border agent.
You have to going in or out of Canada.
You're a very reclusive person who likes to stay in Germany, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The U.S. side was nice. They were mostly nice. It's the Canadian side. Like they were like you're in your car, you hand them your passports, and they're like asking you questions like roll down your back window. Are you carrying anything illegal? Like, yes, hold on, let me tell you about the cocaine I've got in the back of my car. And then we stayed in Niagara. We drove to Toronto one day to go do stuff in Toronto. I did get to meet Greg in person. So,
Hey.
so that was fun. And I met up with one of my dinosaur friends too the next day. So I got to meet 2 different friends out there. And we did like the Maid of the Mist, going under the falls and all the touristy stuff, aquariums and shit. And then we drove home Thursday. It took 2 hours to cross the Rainbow Bridge back from Canada to the US because they had only 2 lanes open. And this bridge is maybe a 1/4 mile long, half a kilometer long, something like that, right? It is not long. And we were stuck on it for 2 hours, and you can't turn around once you're on it. You are stuck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen what's going on in the UK at this point in time, but apparently some people are now spending more than 24 hours to queue to move like 7 miles. So, there's a comparison to be made there.
Yeah.
I just think that's dedication, man. That's dedication to the cause.
It's sheer stupidity is what it is.
Doug, at least the milds know that they are British now.
And let's see. Coming back was easy, but I will say probably one of the best Chinese food places I've been to in a very long time was in Canada. Surprising. And that's kind of our running joke. We always try to find the oddest nationality we can for my Dutch friend to be in another country to go do XYZ that makes no sense. But if you're in Niagara Falls, go to Magnolia Chinese place. It's really good. Like, really fucking good. Other than that, we had a good time.
Nice.
And I've been, some of the people in Theta know I've been like trying to be more active and working out more. And my goal is to be able to just like enjoy vacation and not be like miserable the entire time. And I am happy to report I was able to do pretty much everything I wanted to do and wasn't wanting to kill somebody. So that's a big step for me because the last few vacations have been torture.
Congratulations.
So I'm excited.
But I mean, equally, you're one of those people who likes to go on cruises. So I'm not surprised that you wanted to kill people. Can I just like point out, by the way, that Mac has been replaced by a picture of a living room that is clearly not his.
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. Right?
Like the snow that you can see through the windows demonstrates that it is absolutely not your place.
Well, clearly, it's clearly the case. There we go. I'm back now. But like, yeah, I'm working on it. It's just that my green screen was a bit fucking blown out because the sun was in a really fucking odd place for like 90% of the hour before we actually went live.
Oh, I did get to go to the Museum of History or Natural History in Toronto, and they have a ton of dinosaur skeletons. So I was taking pictures and sending them to my dinosaur friends, like, look, they actually have one of these and these and these. So that was also the other fun part. Every time I go on vacation, anyone in Theta will know that they get to go too.
Museums of Natural History have dinosaur fossils. What an incredible surprise.
Well, I mean, it was more of like, oh, look, they have the species that we play with every day. Here's how it really, size-wise, how big it really would be, or here's like the, one dinosaur had really long legs, and we were like, that's not how it's drawn, but okay. So we're just having fun with it. Keeping everybody engaged.
The London Museum of Natural History has a Bronto in the lobby. Like, it's the first thing you see as you walk in. It's just this Brontosaurus skeleton.
Is it a Bronto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did they get that?
So, well, Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus, I don't know which. Well, either way.
Yeah, like it's right there in the lobby as you walk in. It's basically the first thing you see. It's like a quadruple height atrium style.
Well, from what
lobby.
I'm looking at, they've
And-
got a Bronto and a whale.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whale's pretty cool as well.
And it's a Diplodocus, it's not a Bronto.
It's a Diplo. Either way, like
You should know
it's
Diplos.
huge.
Yeah, you should know Diplos. You were one, after all.
How did I have a spider web? Okay. So,
There you go.
what have
Oh, I
you guys
fixed my
done this
background,
week?
by the way. I fixed
Yes, we
my background,
see.
Dirk, so it works now. It's nice.
It's you in not your living room.
Shut the fuck up. You don't know where I live.
It's
I mean,
Yeah,
also,
that
actually, you do, but like, shut the fuck
it's
up.
also snowing inside not your living room.
Like I say, it's the snow that gives it away. The snow in the mountain regions.
No, look at it. It's actually snowing inside.
Oh, okay. No, that's because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
because
yeah.
I
A little bit, yeah.
that's because I literally just went with the like default default
You-
chroma key stuff. Like,
Yeah, you
Oh, I
use
can-
the worst keying possible.
no, it's the worst is the worst keying possible, which is the default one, where it's key color type green, not actually selecting the right one. I'll do it properly. Hang on a second. God damn it. Yes, if you guys like have never seen green screen being done like properly, this is kind of how you do it. But if
Well, the before picture is kind of how you don't do it.
Yeah, the before picture was definitely how you don't do it. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
what have
Yeah,
you
that's
guys been
better.
doing this week?
Now, Mac is kind of becoming a
I'm
bit
going
bluer.
a
Oh,
little
yellow. You're becoming yellow.
That's weird.
Okay, so I've just had a fun Discord DM.
Anyway, yeah.
Apparently, my beard looks lit. When I suggested that my real life beard not actually quite as great, I was accused of photoshopping it. But Soth, you look apparently exactly as the person DMing me imagined.
Oh,
Interesting.
great
Yes.
imagination, I guess.
All right.
Or,
So what have you
or
guys
he
been
has
doing
seen
this
the
week?
show before. I mean, it's not like I'm on camera literally every time here.
Exactly.
I mean, it is relatively newer compared because you weren't on camera for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been like a couple months now.
No, we are talking years now.
No.
Yes.
It's only been a couple of months that you've been on camera regularly.
No, I've been on camera regularly since we announced Anger Games Rebirth.
Not as regularly as you have in the last few months. You were still sparse.
Yeah, because my lighting setup was shit, which I solved in December last year. So, yeah, I guess it's been months, like 9 of them.
Considering how long we've been doing this show at this point.
Trying to yeah.
I mean, even I've been here getting on 5 years at this point.
Oh, thanks for reminding
Which
me.
is a terrifying thought now that we're having this conversation. You know, just how much time do you spend doing silly video game things?
So, do we want to suspend the dawn rule in light of us being super late today?
I mean,
We've been 15 minutes on the Dawn Rule. I think we can call it
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
It's a good nod to the Dawn Rule, so we'll open the gates in that regard.
Because you guys apparently are raring to go over what do you want to go into first? The Plex stuff? The new ships?
That game is
What
dead,
new ships?
but we can talk about whatever you want.
Do we want to start with the good news or the bad news?
That's
What's the good news?
Oh, new ships is good news. Come on.
Oh, yes.
I mean, are they new
I-
ships though?
They are. And I'm excited about them. At least some of them. I think that they will provide some opportunity for variety, because people use ships in weird ways, and some of the bonuses that come in, you're like, oh, that seems like a really meh bonus, and then all of a sudden that ship is a god, and then other times you're like, oh, that bonus is gonna be amazing, and then it turns into nothing.
Yeah, so right, they are new ships. We have to admit that they are new to the game. They are going to be distinct ships compared to their precursors.
Really?
But basically, they're just a rework of the existing ships into a new-ish hull. At the very least, it's not just a plain old rebalance of whatever that already exists. It is something different, something that we haven't quite seen before in this kind of format, at least. It's new. It's new in that sense.
They do seem like they have been lying in a folder marked release in terms of hardship.
Yeah.
Use an emergency situation.
Yeah.
As I said,
It does
I'm
seem like
excited
that.
about the Myrmidon. For those of you who haven't read it yet, I think that ship is going to be a lot of fun.
Dawn's jumping straight into like what she's excited about. We should probably actually, instead of just debating whether or not these are new ships, actually talk about what these ships are gonna be, and when we can expect to see them, and just generally like what's coming. Here we've got an image that we can throw up that we stole from CC or a Hobo Leaks thing, but these ships are coming this month, right, Soph?
As far as we know, they will be released sometime this month. Yeah, they might actually be already.
Now, do they understand what? Does CCP know what a month is?
Well, that is a question. That is definitely a question.
Saying, they don't know what a quarter is or a quadrant, so just
like theoretically, they do have 2 Tuesdays left this month to release things. Tuesday is traditionally patch day, so they have 2 Tuesdays left this month.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
So yeah, what you're seeing here, guys, since nobody else seems to want to jump in and kind of like give you an overview, is some ships that are apparently being released with the Uprising faction warfare changes. Now, Uprising is a long-lived expansion that is starting this month and will be going through November and maybe even early next year before we get to the next expansion. But a big part of them is these ships, which are not abyssal rolled, but kind of abyssal rolled in terms of the way they're being introduced from what I've seen on the CSM Discord. And what we're looking at here is a new addition to the Navy Battle Cruiser line. So obviously we already have Navy Harbingers and Navy Brutixes and whatever, Hurricane Fleets. Somebody remind me of the Kaldari one.
Caracal? I know that.
No. The Caracal's a cruiser. It's
a battle cruiser.
The Drake.
The Drake. The Navy Drake.
How could
you forget the Drake?
I have an inbuilt aversion to the Drake. So yeah. So what we're seeing here is additional Navy battle cruisers for the other combat style battle cruisers, the Prophecy, the Ferox, the Myrmidon, and the Cyclone. And then Navy versions of the T1 scanning ships.
But that's an interesting kind of way to go.
Yeah, weird. It's an interesting evolution, and it's interesting as well in that they remain scanning ships in that kind of sense.
Yeah, because a lot of time the Navy ship becomes kind of like this like bastard version of whatever they originally were.
Yeah, like if you take the Vigil fleet, the Vigil fleet is kind of like a weird stepping stone between the Vigil T1 and the electronic attack frigate, the Hyena. And the same happens with the Maulus and the Caries. The Maulus Navy issue is a bit weird and has a couple of weird bonuses. Whereas these scanning frigates seem pretty much the same, just a little bit better.
They all have an additional combat bonus, so to say, right? The scanning bonus and the data and RENIC analyzer bonus, they are the same as the Tech 1 variant.
Yeah, and then they
Do you
get...
think these would be used to hunt down other scanners?
I think what they're designed for potentially is to give a little bit more teeth to people who are out there scanning in kind of T1-ish frigates anyway, right? Because the faction ships don't require any better skills. Sorry, no, I tell a lie. I think they require level 3 in the particular frigate racial skill that you have. But
Yeah.
if you're already out there in, say, a probe, and you're getting hunted in your probe, potentially this additional combat bonus makes it a little bit more possible for you to fight back if you get surprised somewhere. I don't know.
Would put them on par with the Astero? Like,
No.
combat-wise?
Absolutely
Not even
at
close.
all. Not
Okay,
at all.
I was just curious, because I know the Astero is just a really nice ship, you know.
The big part about the Astero is that it gets the Sisters of Eve pretty significant drone bonuses. But the really serious thing that just outclasses these ships when it comes to the Astero is the covert ops cloak.
Yeah.
The covert ops cloak just makes it so much easier for the Astero to go hunting things.
Yeah, you're able to pick your fights.
Yeah.
Because you're able to pick your fights. So you're not forced into a fight as such.
Whoa,
Yeah,
actually,
but like, I was going to say the Amicus is a drone bonus.
I want to talk about something that I think I've just noticed here. Let me pull up. Where is it? There's the Magnate. All right, no, sorry. I thought the T1 scanning ships had a cloak bonus for a second though, but no.
Nope, they don't.
I thought they had a CPU reduction in the base cloak, but apparently not. I'd have to check the
that would have been very
base cloak now.
That would have been very old school from CCP. That would be a very old school way of, like, you know, bonusing a cloak onto it.
What's the Astero's drone bonus?
The Astero runs
20% hit points per level, and then
yeah, and as is being pointed in chat, like the covert ops cloak is an Omega only module as well, so it wouldn't really fit that well with the
I'm pretty sure
the idea of it.
Can alphas use faction ships? I think they can, can't they? I'd have to double check the alphas now.
I'm not sure, but I think so.
They can definitely get the level 3 skills for all of the races nowadays, so it would make sense that they can.
Dawn, it's not so much the bonuses, it's that it has 25 Mbits of bandwidth.
Well, how much does the
Plus
Amicus
hit
have?
points. Probably the same.
The Amicus has no drone bandwidth.
No, it has 20.
Right? No, it's got 20. Sorry, yeah.
So there's like one drone less?
Yeah.
One drone less. But the Amicus also has a significantly less tanky drone.
How?
And the Astero also gets
I like how Dirk's just like lost his thought.
The Astero also gets the armor resistance bonus. So not only are its drones better, it is a tankier ship to start with. That's where I was going with that one.
Okay. But how do these ships compare to, like, let's say you're scanning Happy-Go-Lucky and a Punisher?
I'm going to be honest here. I don't think that these faction scanning ships are going to matter.
They're still going to die.
I don't think they matter at all. There might be some very niche things where you could use them, but I'm pretty sure most people will just keep using the Astero. And if they are alpha, then I don't think they're gonna bother with scanning. Because the scanning boni are the same as on Tech 1, right?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Well, I look forward to seeing how people make these work. So.
Actually, no. No, they aren't.
Oh,
These ships get the 90% reduction in scan probe launcher CPU requirement, which means that they will be able to fit combat scan probes.
yeah, because they'll be able to fit combat like a expanded probe launcher.
So yeah, these new faction scanning ships will be able to fit combat scan probes rather than just core scan probes.
Yeah, but they can't fit covert ops cloaks. So
no, they can't.
But
again, that doesn't really matter.
It's okay. You can use combat scan probes to scan down ships and stuff, and potentially scout about, but you can't do it while being sneaky. And so, when you warp to whoever you scan down to scope it out, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, like in every way.
Does that mean the Herons?
Combat probes, you would just use a cheater.
I was going to say, like, with regards to all of them, probably the Heron is probably going to be the one that's going to be most combat viable, having probably the most mid slots available.
The Heron is by and large the best T1 scan ship anyway. So yeah, as a general upgrade, that would make sense. The Cheetah is the Myrmidon T2 scan ship. But yeah, that's generally considered to be the best balance if you're using it for scouting out enemy situations.
I do want to point out the Astero doesn't have a drone damage bonus.
No, but its drones last longer. If you start shooting at an Astero's drones instead of shooting the Astero that's shooting you, you're going to be there forever, and the Astero is going to.
I'm just saying that the Imicus gets 10%. It doesn't get damage either. It's just tracking. Why tracking speed?
Because they are tiny drones, so they need help tracking frigates, I guess.
The words you're looking for there aren't even words. It's just CCP.
Okay.
Yep, that would be about it.
Right. How about we move on to the battle cruisers? Because
I just want to say real quick that I think possibly the best way to get these ships to do more as faction ships in this kind of scenario, like we've spent a lot of time saying that these are not great ships. I think one thing that could really get them to be more used once they're introduced is just to up the relic and analyzer strength that these ships are going to get. Kind of give them a bit more of a skew them a bit more towards that scanning, hacking, money making proposition than this kind of like combat situation. Don't remove the combat benefit, but like that's going to be defensive in any situation. You're not going to go hunting in these ships. So
yeah, I doubt it.
Give them a bit more ability to do the thing that the T1 ships that people will be using as alpha clones. Give them a bit more ability to do that. I think that might be a good way to make these ships actually worthwhile compared to the T1 variants that they're obviously stacked up against.
All right. Well,
going to the battle cruisers, we do have to remind you guys here that these are leaks. So we don't know if these are the actual final stats. And you will notice why I say that once we get to the Cyclone Fleet issue.
Should we start from the Amal side, though? We'll work left to right.
Yeah, let's do that. So, the Prophecy Navy issue,
Prophecy's always been a
Yeah.
fat bastard. Like it's always been really quite slow.
I always named my toucan.
So it loses
Tuki.
half of its drone bonus. Instead of 10% level, it only gets 5% per level to hit points and damage. And it
Mhm.
loses its armor resistances, but it gets
Hit
10%
points.
per
lot.
level to armor hit points, and it gets a bonus to medium energy turrets twice. Right? Once.
Yeah. So it's a
Once per
25%
level.
roll bonus, but you get 50% from if you have battle cruiser 5 or battle
Yeah.
cruiser 5.
So
you're getting 75.
you end up getting because they stack the bonuses thing is kind of weird, but they effectively stack. So you'll get like I think it works out at like a 50% optimal range bonus, and then an additional 50% damage,
Oh yeah, okay.
and then the 25% fall off bonus as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see the damage wasn't in the roll bonus one. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's weird. CCP does roll bonuses and per level skill bonuses as a multiplicative bonus, not an additive bonus. And then, yeah, it gets weird. The numbers get really weird. And so my 50% overall optimal range bonus might actually be a 37.5% overall optimal range bonus, depending upon the way they apply the algorithm. I can't remember the specifics, but it's not like it's not a 75% optimal range bonus. Absolutely not.
Yeah, so it might be. Well, you got 10% all the way up to level 5, so that's 50. So it's not going to be 37.5.
It depends on which bonus applies first. Because the whole bonus will always apply. The skill bonuses only apply when you put a character in the ship.
Yeah.
So if the 50% optimal range bonus from the skills is multiplicative on top of the 25% that already exists, it changes the way the numbers work.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So yeah, it's just...
Yeah, okay.
We'll have to wait and see what the actual numbers bear out in terms of that algorithm. But there was one thing, Soth, when we were discussing this pre-show, that you kind of wanted to point out with regards to losing the resistance bonus, but gaining a hit points bonus in the ship bonuses.
So because you have a bonus to armor hit points, you might not need to fit a plate on the Prophecy Navigator ship, right? It frees up a low slot for you, which, especially in a like small gang or solo environment, means you have more space for damage mods or like armor reps, that kind of deal. So this could absolutely be interesting, and especially if you don't fit a plate, you don't have the speed malice, right? So it goes a bit faster. It might not actually be a total brick anymore.
Potentially, yeah.
Would it be useful as a backup booster or like a cheap version of a booster?
Although you don't have
the boosting matters that much, because I think all of these are intended to be more used in faction warfare, right?
Well, I'm just thinking like if you're a newer pilot or maybe just not as a skilled pilot, but you still want to provide for your thing, would you choose this over the Prophecy, or is it still situation based?
I would say situation based. This seems to me it would work better in small gang than the regular Prophecy. If we're talking about a fleet environment, like a big fleet, you definitely want the original Prophecy, because it's just a brick, right? You don't care so much about self-rep ability and damage output in a 200-man fleet of your one booster ship, right? You care that it doesn't die. But in a small gang, every bit of DPS matters.
Understandable.
Okay, I get that.
Now,
The Ferox.
the Ferox gets a bit weird.
Of all the ships to sort of boost, the Ferox, really?
Yeah.
So-
This one's
You know what
definitely
I mean?
interesting.
You know what I mean? It's
The
kind of like
Ferox, I wouldn't call it a boost because again the Ferox gets weird because it gets 5% more bonus to
Damage.
turret damage, but
'Cause
it
it needed
loses
that.
its optimal range bonus.
yeah,
right?
it loses the 10%
is-
bonus to range.
The
Right.
range bonus is what makes it so effective
And that's
against
yeah,
cruisers.
yeah, because that's the per skill level bonus. So that's the one
Yes.
that can ramp up to actually being quite a lot. That's the
Yes.
37.5% one.
Instead,
That's the
it gets-
bonus that makes it reach out and touch
But actually, on
things
the
like
yeah,
the Munin and the Cerberus, right? This is
Yeah.
what the optimal range stacking bonuses that the base T1 Ferox gets is what allows it to go not quite toe to toe, but really be a threat to those T2 hacks that we've been really worrying about in EVE Online for the last. I don't want to talk about how many years it's been. 4 years?
yeah,
5?
too long.
a bit, yeah, too
3,
long,
too long.
way too long.
But
And yeah, I just wanted to say that the base Ferox kind of optimal range one is a 10%, so it goes all the way to 50% with Battlecruiser 5.
Yeah.
So that's the big chunk of optimal range that gets lost by the compared to this Navy issue.
Yeah.
this comes
Instead-
back to that optimal range stacking that I was talking about with the
Mm.
prophecy. But
Yeah.
Soth's going to talk about how this is interesting because instead of the optimal range, it gets what, Soth?
It gets 7.5% per level to tracking speed,
Now,
which is a bit weird because the Ferox isn't especially known for its bad tracking.
this is also interesting because this basically takes the stacking bonuses, or the stacking deficits, and gets rid of them because that tracking bonus is not affected by a roll bonus. It's not affected by anything other than skills. So this Ferox is going to track incredibly well. And Heidi in Twitch chat saying that this is going to be a fun blaster boat. You know, of all of the things that
If you
a
can get
blaster needs, additional tracking is not one of them.
no,
A blaster realistically needs more range.
Goonie has a good point here. This will definitely have to compete with the Brutix for blaster gameplay, and the Brutix is very well established in that role, right?
oh yeah,
I am not sure that the Brutix doesn't do that job better.
The thing that's going to be different there, and when we're talking about the blaster game and the Brutix, arguably we're not talking about the Navy Ferox going up against a base Brutix. We're talking about the Navy Ferox going up against the Navy Brutix.
Yes.
And the Navy Brutix is very well known as a high DPS, high EHP hull tank kind of archetype, right? It goes in for the maneuverability because it's got the hull tank that doesn't have that mass and inertia deficit, and it's just got the base damage from the blasters. The Navy Ferox, by comparison, has this shield booster bonus. And it's a shield booster activation cost. It's not actually a bonus to the amount of shield that you're getting back. But it could be a huge change to a Navy Ferox when you're talking about fitting it with essentially an XL ASB, and you run out of ASB charges. That sort of bonus, overall, it works out at a 40 2.5% shield booster activation cost reduction. That could mean that once you run out of charges for your ancillary shield booster, you just run it on cap. And run it through a cap booster. It could be a different style of brawling blaster boat.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it's gonna go toe to toe, but it could be a very different style of gameplay for that sort of brawl.
That is a bit weird on a ship that is reliant on cap to feed its
For
guns.
so many things, yes.
Right?
It's not great, but I'm trying to find something that might make this at least a bit different to a Brutix.
Yeah, I think the Ferox Navy issue here is weird. I personally cannot see any way to make this work. Now we don't have the fitting on these. We don't know how much power grid, how much CPU these have. So it could be redeemed by having more fitting space than other battle cruisers.
Yeah, an extra mid slot for another cap booster maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, or just more power grid, for example.
There are definitely situations that could redeem any of these, but they're a bit interesting with what we have in front of us.
Now, the Myrmidon, I personally think the Myrmidon is the most interesting of these four.
Oh, and you're very excited about the Myrmidon. Do you want to? Do we want to talk about what the Myrmidon's getting before we talk about why Dawn's excited about it, or do we want to let Dawn talk a bit before we get into the numbers again?
I'll be there in a minute.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the changes that the Myrmidon is getting, and then we'll maybe give Dawn a moment.
Right, so in addition to the normal Myrmidon boni, it gets a 10% bonus per level to web drones, and it gets a 10% bonus per level to hybrid turrets. And then
It
also gets a roll bonus, 25% to range and fall of 4 hybrid turrets.
And in the course of this, it loses its 7.5% bonus to drone tracking. Wait, no. That's the EOS, not the Myrmidon, because I'm hovering over the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it loses nothing. And
you missed the stasis web bonus.
No, I said that.
Yeah, he said it a bit early.
First thing I said.
I'm just going to shut up.
So,
It's okay.
Dawn, you want to tell us why you're excited about the Myrmidon?
I mean, it's just all around better. I mean, unless they've done something with like the drone, like there could be parts of the ship that are not as good. Like maybe made the drone base smaller, or something with the CPU or whatever that we can't see. But it seems like they just made the Myrmidon just better. And you can blast people's faces off with it. So I just think it's going to be fun to have, like, especially if you're really tired of using a Myrmidon and you want to like up your game, but you're like, EOSs are too expensive, fuck that shit. Or I don't want to commit that many skill points to this mess.
You're tired of using a Myrmidon, but you know what will actually change your opinion of the Myrmidon? Hey, a Myrmidon with railguns.
Rails, and maybe blasters.
The rails is obviously where they're kind of trying to target this, because the blasters don't exactly have a huge damage issue here.
Oh, and they still have their armor repair, so like you can rat with these just fine.
You got the web drones though, so you send the web drones out to slow your target down, get in really close and personal,
and then just blast their face off.
Yep.
Pew, pew, pew.
That 40% from your web drones versus the 500 DPS from your actual like damage drones.
But you don't know how much you're shooting for, Dirk.
Yeah, but
And you may not be the only one there.
Here's the smart thing, right? You send the web drones out, right? And once you get close enough,
Just
you
abandon them.
use your own web and take the drones in and get your damage drones out.
Yeah.
Now
And then
we're
if he starts
somewhere.
if he starts getting a little far away again, you know.
Well, if he's
Yeah,
getting
what
away
would-
from you under the now more powerful web, then the drones won't
Just-
do anything.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
How powerful
there's
is the web?
something wrong there.
How powerful are the stasis web drones going to be once they've got that kind of bonus?
They're still shit.
You say that.
Yes,
Well,
I
when
say that.
When I say that it's going to be a 40% web
Like,
from
you-
your drones, I'm factoring in the bonus there.
Yes.
Standard flights of web drones are
Which one are the web drones? Is that the ogres?
it's the SW whatevers, which are
SW 500s or something.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look
You're
at
the
the market real quick.
600s?
Yeah, it's the Myrmidon drones. So they're fast drones, but by and large, they will cap out even at the most effective stasis web drones at somewhere between 20 and 25% for a full flight. We did a bunch of testing for this for the AT, not last year, but the year before, which was actually not the AT, but the Alliance Open. Anyway, point is, stasis web drones, not particularly great unless you've got like 4 flights of them, compared to a single web from an actual ship. If they're running away from you with a ship-based web, then they're gonna run away from you with the web drones. Yeah. Web drones, any E-War drones, by and large, not particularly great in EVE Online. They are massively... They massively underperform at the end of the day. The balance kind of situation there, the only E-War drones that you should really be thinking about are ECM drones. Because, especially under the new ECM rules, where you can target things when you're jammed, but you can only target the things that are jamming you. When you can only target drones, and not the ship that is trying to hurt you, ECM drones are massively beneficial as a general distraction. E-War drones, just not good. Just not good in EVE Online.
That being said, though, looking at these boni for the Myrmidon Navy issue, I think it's well-rounded, even without the web drone bonus, right? So
it's got a lot of potential.
Ignore that, right? I think out of these 4, it is the most interesting one so far. And it's definitely more interesting one than the last one of the bunch, that is Cyclone Fleet issue. Because that one seems to lose more than it gains. It loses its 7.5% shield booster bonus per level, and instead it gets a slightly better launcher speed bonus. Instead of 7.5%, it gets 9%. So that's 1.5% more. Not really a lot. And it gets a 5% bonus to explosion radius. That's it.
It has no, it gets that too. I'm just looking at it myself.
The regular Cyclone already has the roll bonus for missile velocity.
It's a straight replacement. 7.5% shield boost per level changes into a 5% per level bonus to heavy missile and heavy assault missile explosion radius. Explosion radius. Because obviously, heavy missiles are really struggling when it comes to the explosion radius of the things that they are largely shooting, which is destroyers, cruisers, other battle cruisers.
Yeah,
in the vast majority of situations.
Would this be a better fleet ship then for the Cyclone, since you're not worried about self-repping?
No, Like, as far as we know, it's not really gaining any more tank, right?
No.
And the cost will be a lot higher than the regular Cyclone, so it's not really worth it.
I'd expect a little bit higher tank overall because it's a Navy ship rather than.
It's more of an anti-tackle kind of ship. It looks like it's almost set up to be almost an anti-tackle ship. Like, you know, you're not heavily repping yourself, so you're not like going into heavy kind of, you know, into like heavy engagements kind of thing. But like, it feels more like it's you set it up for speed and damage, and then you basically kite away and then kill anything that's trying to tackle it down.
The weird thing to me is that it doesn't seem that much more powerful than the regular Cyclone, right? It doesn't really gain that much. I would say in a solo setting, it actually loses something with the shield booster bonus, because that can get really strong.
Yeah, that's very useful in tight situations as well.
Yeah, for sure. But I am going to say real quick that if we make a comparison with the current numbers, just taking a Hurricane versus a Hurricane fleet, the resist profiles for these ships stay the same, but the Hurricane versus the Hurricane fleet, the Hurricane fleet gains 2,250 raw HP in shield and armor, and it gains an additional 1,750 HP in hull. So we can expect these faction ships to be a bit tankier, potentially be a little bit faster, like the Hurricane versus the Hurricane fleet. The Hurricane fleet gets an extra 5 meters per second in base speed, gets a little bit lower signature radius.
Yeah, Dirk, but the problem here is, and that's the big problem that all of these are going to face, is cost, right? Why are you going to dish out more money for a Cyclone fleet issue for a bit more tank when you can spend just a little more and get a claim? Because the issue right now is that Tech 2 ships are way too cheap, right? And that doesn't just apply to hacks.
No.
It applies to all Tech 2 ships.
Okay, a little bit. But I'd actually come back to you at that with the issue isn't that the Tech 2 ships are way too cheap. It's that the Tech 1 ships and the at least Navy faction, if not the pirate faction ships, are way too expensive.
No, I don't think so.
Like comparatively, there's a middle ground somewhere, but like when a T1 battleship is costing more than a T2 hack.
Yeah, but you got to remember that we already had this issue where Tech 1 ships were too expensive, and Tech 2 ships, in my opinion, were kind of like in a good place price-wise, maybe already a bit too cheap, but it was all right. And then CCP increased the amount of moon goo you get out of every moon, which obviously dropped the price for Tech 2 ships even more. So I would say it is both Tech 2 being too cheap and Tech 1 being too expensive.
Yeah, it kind of fucked everything up.
Yep. So I really, really hope that the balance changes that are coming, that they said they are coming, include a balance change for the price of Tech 1 ships.
Oh,
very well, I hope so.
I'll believe that when I see it.
No, I don't think it's going to happen, but I really hope it will happen. Otherwise, we're going to be even more fucked than we are already.
I'll absolutely believe that when I see it. One thing I want to talk about real quick, though, Soth. is that at present, we're seeing interesting differences in the way command boosts work on the current slate of battle cruisers to faction battle cruisers or navy battle cruisers to command ships, right? So, like to take the Hurricane as example, it gets a 50% bonus to command burst area of effect, and it can use one command burst module. The Hurricane Fleet issue gets one command burst module and a 50% bonus to the area of effect of command burst modules. The Sleipnir, which is the T2 version of the Hurricane, obviously, gets a 4% per level command ships bonus to burst strength and duration, and gets no range bonus. So should we potentially, as we see these additional faction battle cruisers come in that are kind of the midpoint between the other command ships in existence currently, should we be seeing things like the Hurricane Fleet issue or the Navy Brutix see different command burst benefits as part of a wider balance pass?
Well, I think that command ships in general need a balance pass, and not necessarily about how the boosting works. It is very hard to keep these ships alive in a big fleet. And in smaller fleets, they become way too powerful, right? We see this with people using vulture fleets now, because it is a powerful ship, it is very tanky, and you don't need to worry about boosters because like your mainline ship is the booster.
Yeah, everyone has boosts, so you never run out.
Yeah. And because the prices for Tech 2 ships are so low, I think I saw vultures for like 230 mil, if I remember correctly.
Dear Lord, I haven't looked at that market in a while, but if there are 230 mil to go,
That's ridiculous.
Speaking of not looking at markets for a
That
while,
made me log in.
like that's
I feel like that segues into our next topic of not like.
we're not done with this one. Don't
Not quite. Not quite.
let me look up the cost of vultures.
we just want to like do this comparison between what is the cost of a command ship fleet versus what is the cost of a hack fleet versus the cost of like a Megathron or see, I always when I come back to these comparisons want to go back to Alpha Fleet.
Oh, that's such a
I miss Alpha
Maelstroms.
Fleet way too much.
Maelstroms are way too expensive right now.
Aren't they just?
not wanting to go into nostalgia or anything like that, but I think the thing that I miss about Alpha Fleets most is like, strangely enough, is the conga lines.
So, to give you prices, a Munin is 115 mil for the ship. A Vulture is 240 mil. So, it's a third of the price that we've seen about 1.5 years ago for the ship. A third.
Yeah.
Now,
And
if you compare that to a battleship, let's go with a Megathron, because
you're talking
No,
paying
that's
the
around.
same. You're talking paying slightly less for a Megathron than you
No.
are for a Vulture.
no, it's worse. Megathrons are more expensive than Vultures.
Oh wait, no, yeah.
Of course they are.
Let that sink in.
Of
Tech 1
course,
battleships are more
course.
expensive than command ships.
of course they are. That makes perfect sense in, you know, topsy-turvy Eve world.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
well,
now see
welcome
what
to
I
Eve
meant?
2022.
Do you now see what I meant when I said Tech 2 is too cheap and Tech 1 is too expensive, both at the same time?
Yeah.
Command ships should not. Heidi in Twitch chat is saying that command ships should be about half the cost of a battleship with as much or better tank.
What?
Like,
no.
no,
Like-
Heidi, no,
Command ships-
that just breaks things. You break everything there. Command ships should have maybe like 90% of the tank of a battleship and be about 50% more expensive than a battleship.
I mean, that is the reality we are dealing with. Yes, that is what is absolutely happening right now. But that's not what should happen.
When we have these conversations, we take a look at the reality and we go, I'm sorry, what the fuck are you doing, CCP? How have you broken things this badly?
I think it's
Because this
because
is
they
broken.
literally like, it feels like they've ripped up the rulebook. They just feel like, you know when we kind of go like, oh, there is a pecking order within T1 and T2 ships when you're going up in terms of hull size and stuff, right? You kind of like, a battleship is a hull size increase over a command ship, but a command ship is a T2 ship, so it should actually kind of like, be that step, be that kind of like half step up from that, but still cost more, right?
So to take it even further,
I feel like CCP just has ripped that whole rule book up entirely.
I have a point on that, but I'll let Soth go first.
Yeah, sorry.
So to take it even further, if we're looking at prices for the current Navy battle cruisers, which we could imply are going to be roughly the same for the new ships, probably a bit higher in the beginning. A Brutix Navy issue is 220 mil. Granted, the Drake Navy issue, for example, is only 160 only, right? You are talking about being dangerously close to the same price as the Tech 2 variant, which is, without any argument, better in every way, right? So why would you go for an expensive Navy faction battlecruiser if you can just go for a command ship? The only reason is you don't have the skills, right?
Yeah.
And this is half the point that we were just trying to make there, which is that, hey,
But these days, if you got the money, you could just have the skills anyway. So, like,
But there's a point there where you can have the money to buy whatever ship you want, but not necessarily have the money to buy the skill points to fly the ship you want.
I don't know about that. If you've seen the Plex kind of bundles and the SP bundles that come with it and stuff,
I'm sure we'll talk about that. Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
But realistically, when we're looking at this, when we're looking at the way you make money in EVE Online, a weird scenario. It's a very, very weird scenario trying to suggest that putting in efforts to make money in EVE Online nowadays is worth the time, and compared to just, okay, you work an hour and you pay for... You know what? This is actually the best segue into the next thing that we were going to talk about, which is the market situation.
Yeah.
Well, everyone,
what's the real life comparison to the Plex market now?
Everyone get ready. We're done with the good news.
Yeah.
Here comes the bad news.
The good news lasted for a while.
It's just this is a downhill going all the way to hell.
Well, it's literally downhill.
I'm curious if we want to start. Do we want to start talking about the Plex prices, or do we want to talk about, just real quick, the overall player count first a little bit?
Yeah, let's go into player numbers first, because we kind of need to talk about that anyway to talk about the Plex numbers.
So, for anybody who hasn't been paying attention over the last month and a half or so, there was a point, I think it was 2.5 weeks ago, where the US time zone average concurrent user count peaked at less than 12,000 online accounts. Now that's huge in and of itself. But I mean, we're currently on a Saturday at
22,500, around about that.
we're a Saturday at 18:20 Eve time.
Yeah.
Currently running about 22,500 people.
Yep, and if you look at the 7-day moving average, it gets even worse because we are fast approaching the 15,000 mark.
But guys, it's the summer slump.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
have
what?
a graph for you right there.
Sorry, hang on. What was that?
The
You're-
graph for the 7-day moving average.
Oh, okay, I need to find that.
Yeah,
it's in Discord.
Which one would that be?
The
the
latest
last
one.
I linked.
The last one you linked. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
No, the last one I just linked.
Oh, the last one you just linked just now. Okay.
Which is the
Let's pull
same
this
as the
up.
last one he linked
Yeah, yeah.
previously, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got the right slide now.
We're
We're a little bit backwards on the way our slides are set up for today. But
It's always the case when we start looking at graphs that like because the graph like name isn't like massive and in bold all over it, like you have that moment where you're trying to find the right one.
right. So
do that
Mac,
in future.
just the point, you need to kind of like shrink that graph a little bit so that we have both the x and y axes available. Y axes.
Oh come
available.
on! Like
Or
where
just
is your
just scroll down a
CCP?
bit.
Where is your CCP spirit?
Just scroll
We can
down a bit.
do.
There we go. There we go.
We can do better than CCP when it comes to labeling and actually having axes on our graphs.
I would like to say thank you very much to Socially Obsolete for the sub, by the way.
So, as you can see, the summer slump is definitely over.
The summer slump existed.
Yeah, I guess.
No. Right. The summer slump did exist because we had a peak right around kind of the middle of January-ish, and then it slowly declined until early February. Had a very steep decline, but then it recovered a little bit until about May, at which point it just kept heading down, right? And generally the summer slump historically has been like
May, June, July, August.
May, June, July, August, exactly.
Yeah.
We're now more than halfway through September. The line is not going anywhere.
I mean, I still have. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I still have blue sky like out there. So I think it's still summer. I believe it's still summer.
I did get a little stuffy earlier, so
I did have hay fever about 2 days ago.
Unfortunately, it's the kind of blue that is like, okay, the sun is going down already, but it's blue. Either way, the line is still going down, right? I'll be generous. The line has been plateauing.
Yeah, it's leveling out.
The line is leveling out somewhere in the region of 15 and a quarter, 15 and a half thousand people overall as a 7-day moving average.
Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of look at this is if I go to Evolve Line, if you go to like say, you're looking at the Zoom kind of rates, it'll calculate the period average. So you go to a 1 year, it's 26k. You drop that to 6 months, it's 23. You drop that to 3 months, it's 18. 1 month is 16. And it's been basically 16 just until the last like 36 hours, and 15k is the 36-hour period average. But, you can see that drop from 1 year to 1 week is dropping, has dropped quite considerably.
Yeah. So
and there's always been drops here and there. That's nothing new. What's new is that this drop is lasting for so long, right?
It's just a continuous.
Yeah. It's a slow but continuous drop in players.
The graph that you have up currently, if you go ahead and there was
you want me to zooming in?
There was something of a bit of a war on last year, and there were
Not at this time.
No, take a look at the graph. Right, there was a war on, and the war kind of dipped off in May, June time, and you can see that in the graph. It's right there. But then there was also a huge resurgence as people kind of went back to their corners, started rebuilding, started putting in the economic activity. They were reactivating alts. This is how all-in wars go, right? There's always a drop-off towards the end that kind of tells you it's the end, and then a resurgence of activity.
Exactly.
We haven't had anything close to that this year. Now, that's not to say that we have anything like the war that we had last year and the 16 months preceding or anything more than once every 4 or 5 years in EVE Online. But normally there is some major summer conflict. We kind of had that in Catch and in kind of the south central area of EVE Online. But where is the rebound? That conflict kind of roughly ended, 2 weeks ago? Where's the rebound? We would normally...
You would expect it at some point.
Depending upon the size of the conflict and the number of people involved, the downslope and the rebound is
kind of
comparatively different, right?
Soon to soon to end.
With the conflict we just had, the downslope is a lot less, and I would expect the upslope to be a lot less. But there isn't there isn't a notable decrease that we're looking at here, and we're not seeing any sort of uptick. I would have expected a more sharp decrease of interest towards the end of that conflict, and then an upturn. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Upturn. As we saw people move away from the war zone and back into their more regular activities. We aren't seeing that. It's kind of plateauing here at that 15.5, 15.75,000 mark. But it's that there's no uptick again. And as Goonie in Twitch chat kind of says, is that it's not only about the trend, it's about the overall level.
Yes, because with player numbers these low, the market starts being affected, right? Because you don't have the player numbers that are serving the market, that are building stuff, that are doing all kinds of activities to get items, to put them on the market, and that starts leading to market volatility, right?
Well, market volatility. There's also, with regards to like the turnover rate and the amount of sales that are happening. Like some people actually depend on that in order to basically make up enough money to be able to fund certain accounts, right? If they can't make it up, then they can't fund those accounts. In which case, they may think that they have to like either retool to something else or go on some kind of hibernation cycle, I guess, maybe. But it's not a nice thing to have when you have when market forces are affecting people's ability to want to actually play, or affecting people's capacity to play. Right?
Pretty much, yeah. Now, another factor in this, of course, is Plex price, because some people pay for their account via Plex. And it was expected that the Plex price goes up with the price changes.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it keeps going up. And mind you, we've had constant deals for either the price of Plex or the amount of Plex you need to sub, right?
And
Yeah.
also the price of Omega.
Yeah. Since FanFest, we constantly had deals. So the price of Plex should not have been affected by the price changes yet that hard.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the graph, it just keeps going up.
Yeah. In terms of
there's a-
Plex price. Yeah.
There's a plateau every now and then. And if you look at the green line that you can see that, that is the Plex volume.
Of Plex traded, yeah.
Yeah, so how much
Yeah.
Plex is on the market and how much gets traded. You can see that there are big spikes, and during those big spikes, the price should go down. But it doesn't really go down, it just stops rising for a while.
If anything, it spikes a little bit, then plateaus, then goes down, but then carries on at its regular kind of,
it doesn't really have a long-lasting effect, right? It becomes volatile a bit, and then it continues the rise. Those occurrences where the volume is going up, those were Plex sales. If you notice at the end right there, we don't have a big bump in Plex volume, even though we did have a Plex sale. That means not many people did buy Plex during the sale.
Yeah.
The key point here is that the increase in the Plex price. I mean, sure, if we talk about the Plex volume, there are particular spikes there that are associated with sales, but by and large, the Plex volume traded has been going down on this graph for the past year and a half, at least, in a kind of almost steady-ish manner. If you were to draw a line of best fit, like a general average line across that entire period, it's heading downwards on a fairly steady trend. The thing that gets me is that the Plex price increase is so very obviously tied to the changes in price for the cost of a month's subscription. And also, at the same time, we have to remember that they made significant changes to Plex pack sizes and prices.
Well, just a quick question.
When they changed the subscription price.
When was that?
That was announced in roughly late April. So if you look at that lovely purple line you've got there, that immediate jump, and you can see it in the volume traded as well, right? There's a very pale line on that graph.
Yeah.
That is basically Plex getting manipulated, or potentially not manipulated, but immediately stockpiled for margin trades as a best kind of term for it. People buying up Plex a bunch just to make incremental profits.
Mm-hmm.
So the volume of Plex traded the day that was announced is that huge spike that rockets in way into the line of
you're
the
getting
7-day moving edge of price.
Yeah, you're getting like 3 mil. Yeah, you're getting about 3 mil of like, you know, volume getting put into the market there, like.
And yeah,
but
so you
but
can
yeah,
generally see
you look at what happens after it though, like, you know, I mean, yeah, we were on a slow but steady increase in price in the price of Plex, but then it just, it ramps up quite a notch in terms of the pricing. But and also when you look at the, the volume's kind of, even though it's being purchased quite a lot, like
Volume
there's
is out of
volume's
whack.
going down, like.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense from a like scarcity sort of point of view. If there's less Plex, then people want more for it, kind of thing. But
the issue is that Plex is one of CCP's main income sources.
Yeah.
CCP don't want to see a decrease in Plex sales, which is happening, and the Plex traders who work on margin trading bases for their Plex sales. The fact that they are day trading Plex effectively, they're buying it at a certain price and trying to make sure that they sell it above that price plus their taxes to make a profit. That is what is driving this huge Plex price increase. Even as we see the Plex volume available on market continue to decrease. But the fact that we are continuing to see the Plex volume decrease is probably the biggest concern for CCP. Because, as I've just said, Plex is a real money income source for CCP. If Plex volumes on the market were staying the same, CCP would probably be okay, right? Like, hey, people are still buying Plex and using that Plex to fund their gameplay at the same level as they were previously. But they're not. People aren't buying Plex and using it to fund their gameplay at the same levels as they were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago. We are on a downward decline in terms of the amount of Plex that people are buying and selling on the market, which is ultimately a decline in CCP's revenue. And we're also seeing, as we've just talked about, the PCU decline, which is a decline in people, either potentially not a decline in people paying for subscriptions, but I guarantee a lot of those people who aren't playing anymore have also turned off their subscriptions, because why would they pay for a thing that they're not using? It's everything that we are seeing internally in the market right now is a huge red flag to say, CCP, wake the fuck up, and like, you've got to stop and figure something out here, because if their incomes continue on this level, and
so the interesting,
would you a quarterly revenue update in about a month?
Yeah, that'll be quite revealing, and I'll tell you why. Because like, in this kind of sense, like CCP have increased the price of like they increased the price of monthly subscription. I gather they also sort of somewhat increased the price of like Plex in the same kind of manner,
comparatively,
right? Comparatively for the same thing. So a slight reduction in the amount of Plex being sold. They might be able to make up the margins of the Plex sold that they've that kind of has decreased with the amount of money that they get, per kind of per Plex as such. That'll be kind of represented in that quarterly earnings that you're talking about. But the interesting thing is, like, this is just like the market kind of base. We don't actually have any numbers specifically on how much Plex has actually been, redeemed for in-game kind of time, like, for Omega time, which I find interesting, because like that would have given us a lot of information or insight as to whether Plex is more being bought for people to actually redeem for game time versus like, just selling and flipping. And when there's a spike in the price of a particular commodity, like, people jump into it and see if they can day trade it. Like, people jump in and see if they can't get like can't ride that kind of that slope upwards and come out with a whole bunch more ISK.
There are more users for Plex though.
Yeah.
Right.
They are?
Yeah, for example, the bid for entry into the Alliance tournament is done with Plex.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the level of utility in Plex as well. Like if it increases in utility, then obviously it increases in price as well because you have more. It's worth more.
Can't you buy MCTs with Plex as well? And there's also skins that you can buy with Plex.
Yeah. There's, but it hasn't changed that much. Like in terms of the utility, it's only like some events that come around and occur that kind of add some utility to it. Like for example, the Alliance tournament when you have your buy-ins and stuff like that. What was the other graph that we had? The other graph that we had was PCU versus Plex price. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that could kind of also that gives us a bit of an insight. I guess maybe.
I would be careful with this one. Because it is hard to argue that there's a correlation here.
Yeah, correlation isn't causation, but yeah.
I don't know.
You can
infer
some stuff from it.
I wouldn't even say that there's necessarily a correlation here. There might be, but if you
inverse,
if you look
maybe.
at last year, between July and August, there's a big drop in player numbers during. I think there was blackout.
No, that was the end of the war, I think, right?
Oh, was it the end of the war?
It was the slump after the war. Slump after the war.
So, like a big drop in player numbers that didn't really affect Plex prices. Now, you could argue that Plex prices don't move that fast, but that happened over the course of like nearly 2 months, right?
Plex prices can move over the course of about 3 days if the event is significant enough. Please see the increase in subscription price.
Yes, of course, Dirk. But when we are talking about player numbers affecting Plex price, it doesn't move that fast because you have a certain volume that is on the market already, right?
Yeah.
And for low volume to affect the market and drive the price up, that volume needs to go first, right?
No, that's true.
So
unless people are
kind of reacts a bit slower to player numbers.
I mean, unless people are pulling it off, and then unless people are pulling those kind of market orders off and relisting them,
that will happen after a certain point. You have to get to a certain point of profitability with the current tax situations, because the current tax situations are not particularly great. They haven't been particularly great since they were introduced. That they decided that, hey, 0.1 ISKing is bad, which means that people are still relisting at the lowest price they can. They're just doing it by an order of 1,000 ISK instead of 0.1 ISK. And so it's just about factoring in your tax burden to make the relisting worthwhile, rather than stopping the relisting.
Yeah, it's like how much additional taxation do you want to swallow to relist all of this stuff?
The hilarious part about obviously the tax changes and switching things to 4 significance figures instead of 0.1 ISK is that it was designed apparently to combat market bots. It doesn't combat market bots. It just stops the people who were doing the 0.1 ISKing, because the market bots only have to change a function of
they have to do a bit more calculations. They have to do a bit more calculations. Like if somebody doesn't really care about profitability,
not really
then
more calculation to change the market bot to go from 0.1 ISK.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's more about the amount of money that you're paying for the relisting. That's the only thing. Like, if that eats into your profits, then that might be an issue. And market bots don't really calculate that, or they can if they want. If you want to put it together to calculate that, and they'll find a margin that will work. But like,
this is the point. People
But
who
yeah.
are doing the market botting don't care. The people who are trying to sell their shit at the best margin while also keeping prices down give a shit, right? So the market bots will just change their code, and it's all of 2 lines of code difference, or probably something in that region.
You're lifting the bar for those market
real
bots,
people,
but not by much.
No, you're actually raising the bar on the real people and not the bots.
Oh no,
Because
you
the
definitely
real
are doing that
people
too.
have to stop and consider what they're doing. Whereas the bots, they change their algorithm by, like I say, 2, 3, 4 lines of code, and suddenly the bots are away again. Whereas the real people are still trying to find out where their niche exists now.
Yeah, they're still using a calculator to figure it out, whereas the bots already know exactly, like, you know, the amount of margin that they've ate away and how much they have left, and you know, they've already relisted and put their prices up, and regular people are left fucking in the dust.
And this was a factor of what we're seeing here.
Right. How many market bots are there actually? How many people do that?
Well, there's the Reader market bot.
and it's another case of that you are words.
The thing that happened there,
you are punishing regular players for the actions of botters, right?
Yeah.
You're making the game worse for your regular players because of botters, and that cannot be what you do. That cannot.
And the hilarious part about that is that the botters may not exist in the first place, because before CCP killed the 0.1 esking situation, they sent out a survey to a huge number of people in which they asked, what is your major concern? And market bots was one of the options on the survey that they sent out. Yeah. And until they sent out that survey and published the results of that survey and suggested that, hey, people in a survey responded that market botters were a huge issue, market botters have never been the bots that people are concerned about, by and large.
No.
But suddenly, after that survey, when CCP had suggested that market bots might be a big thing that people might be concerned about, and hey, if you're concerned about market bots, click this button along with a bunch of other buttons of things you're concerned about in the game, suddenly market bots were a concern, and they had to do something about it. By and large, but by and large, the bots that people are concerned about in EVE Online are the bots that are out in space doing activities that generate ISK, raw ISK, as a faucet, rather than activities that create blue loot or other such situations, because they require secondary and tertiary actions within the bot, right? You're not just talking about a bot going out and shooting something, you're then talking about a bot going out and shooting something, and then the bot goes home, switches to a different ship, comes out, salvages hulls, goes home, comes out, salvages loot. That's second, third order consequence botting, which is incredibly complex. You want the bots that do the least amount of effort for the most amount of profit. Markets have never been that. Or previously weren't that. They may actually be more beneficial now that the player base is decreasing in such a way that we've discussed tonight. It's almost like CCP have been digging their way into the hole that they never wanted to be in. They were trying to get away from it and dug it themselves because they were trying to get away from it.
Yeah, part of this is an issue with regards to, like, you know, populist sort of movement versus like an expert opinion, kind of like, you know, actual have a proper expert opinion on things. Like when you're talking about something as complex as markets, like getting a populist opinion on, like, you know, what needs to be done for them to improve the markets probably isn't going to result in what you kind of hope to see. you need to have like expert opinions in that regard. You know, the whole idea of market bots being the worst thing in the world in the markets only came about because so many people have that experience on the markets where they go and sell something, and they come back and it's not sold because it's been pushed down on the list because there's been a bunch of people relisting stuff, and then they go and relist it themselves, and then they see that somebody relists it relists above them straight away, and they get triggered by that. Whereas if you actually specifically, if you've played the market enough, then that when you set a decent price, just wait, you will sell it eventually. It's just that's the way that the market ebbs and flows.
But not only will you sell it, you will probably also make more profit by doing it that way, because you are not eating all of the
this comes back to what I'm talking about with regards to a populist opinion versus an expert opinion. When it's a complex thing, everybody has that opinion of everybody has that sort of a very surface level kind of opinion of, oh yeah, market bots suck. Well, on the surface, yeah, maybe, but it doesn't actually, it's not a significant change or a significant issue in the actual system. But going and screwing with everybody just to try and screw market bots has done way more damage, I feel.
The way it kind of worked out was hey, you put up your order and you looked at your order once every 12 hours. Of course, the people who are looking at their order once every 10 minutes are going to be making more of a rapid change than you are. But as Reavera, who has been accused of basically being a market bot by CCP at various points in the past, has said multiple times to me, they make more money when they leave their orders up overnight and just let them run than they do when they're changing their order amounts every time.
Even back in the day of 0.1 isking.
Yeah, you were better off just picking a middle point in your market group and just letting it sit. Somebody will buy it eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's somebody in Twitch chat, Eden Trade, basically they say the market is dumb. People should not be able to relist. It should be once it's up, it's up. No deleting it and no changing the price. As if,
How is that in any way reality?
Before we even get into how is that reality, there's an immediate thing that kind of comes to mind for me that suggests, you're just encouraging good market procedure by laddering your orders. If you can only put up a ladder at a single price, if you can only put up an order at a single price, and you cannot change that price, and you cannot bring it down, instead of the order of 100 units of one thing at one price that you're going to put up, you're going to put up 10 different orders of 10 of that particular item at 10 different prices.
Or you're going to hold back at least 50% of your actual stock. You're going to put some up, and then you're going to wait to see where the market moves, and then you're going to put up some more at a different price.
If you have 16k market orders, then you would know that this is the immediate response for anybody seeing that restriction. Why would you think that would be a positive thing? I don't.
Yeah, it just ends up with more people. It just ends up with less volume on the market and more time spent. People who want items from the market spending more time waiting around for relisters to relist items just so they can purchase it.
You want to drive market activity down. That is exactly what you need.
Yeah, general activity as well, because the amount of times where, especially if you live close to Jitter, the amount of times where people literally have to run to Jitter to get, X number of holes or Y number of modules to basically to make a to fill a gap in a doctrine like that they need straight away. Like, it's one of those things where if it's not on the market, then they're screwed. And so that has consequential influences and effects on actual activity in the game, meaningful, like enjoyable activity.
And the thing there, when you're talking about consequences in the game, you're not just talking about immediate first order consequences of, hey, these ships aren't there, so these people can't buy them. You're talking about, hey, these ships aren't there, so these people can't buy them. These people can't buy them, therefore the next person in the chain who's shipping them to Nullsec can't ship them, can't make money on their shipping. Then once you get to Nullsec, the people who were going to have the ships and now don't have the ships can't buy the ships, which means that they can't fight to defend their situation. And because they're having to buy them from Jita rather than build them in their own space, you can probably expect that whatever they're trying to defend or attack, that their particular military situation is not going well. So them not having the ability to get in that number of situations probably then leads to them kind of being steamrolled, which leads to more blue donuts. Well, once you start talking about the third, fourth, fifth order effects of the market being fucked, it just gets really depressing after a while.
Which is and really, when you look at that kind of thing, really do you blame like large groups like putting together their own market centers?
The fact that the person who was suggesting that we should go ahead and not be able to relist and not be able to change the price of their market orders has only just realized that their capability or their capacity to put market orders up is higher than the overall PCU of the game. You really are just not watching the trends, are you? Really good job there, buddy.
There's also that aspect of, yeah, fair enough. It's maybe you have more market orders than the PCU, but then the PCU isn't a true reflection of the amount of people who play per day. You're looking for daily daily active users, yeah, but like, different metrics for different things. Like, if you're looking for by the minute activity in the game, you definitely want to be looking at PCU. But market orders and stuff like that, like, yeah, you need to know how many people are cycling through the game every day, every week, that kind of thing. Goonie, I can tell you that is not the case. I may be talking about the daily active users, but I know specifically when to use that rather than when to use it to fucking, hide the bullshit that
Rotati doesn't know how many people are cycling through the game at any given point. That's all.
I don't want to stop you on this rant, but we have like 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I was thinking like, we should probably get to final things. Does anybody want to start? Hang on, like Dawn, we might as well. Dawn, do you have your final final thing or final last thoughts, etc., etc.?
So, my final thought is everyone should go see Niagara Falls and then go crash at Greg's house. I'm excited for the new ships. I hope that they tweak the numbers a little bit as they kind of look at who gets used for what. But I think they have a really good base, and if they stay the way they are, they'll be okay. But I do think there's a little room for improvement on some of them. I think that they could get creative with the bonuses provided, and I hope everyone has fun trying to use them.
I'm sure Greg's going to really enjoy this impromptu house party that he's suddenly going to get.
I know where he lives now.
Dirk. Anything that you haven't said today that you wish to say? I'm not sure whether there does exist that, but you never know.
Shit's really weird at the minute. Even the AT is kind of an interesting beast right now. We're still waiting to see who is going to be fighting who in the feeder rounds in literally 2 weeks from today. We don't know which team is going to be fighting which team. So yeah, just by and large, the way CCP are approaching EVE Online right now, it's just weird. I'm not sure what their particular focus is anymore. It used to be that it was the CCP Rotati administration. Kind of feels like they've moved away from that particular paradigm into who the fuck knows, because nobody is leading, as far as I can tell. If anybody else can tell anything, then please let me know. But I don't see it.
It kind of feels like they're slowly killing every single sacred cow that you know is part of the game. You know, at first we all thought that the whole risk versus reward thing was something that they would stick to, and then they didn't. And then we thought like, oh, like today, we thought, oh, they'll definitely stick to the whole, like, sizings of ships versus, and which one's better than the other. Clearly, they've decided that that's not a thing anymore. What other sacred cows are they going to kill? Anyway, Soth, sorry, I'm jumping all over your time.
I really hope that someone at CCP notices the prices for ships, and they include that in the balance pass that is upcoming next month, I think. Because CCP really, like, Tech 1 battleships being more expensive than command ships, you gotta realize that just doesn't work out. It should not be like that.
No, it definitely should. Okay, and I think really the only thing that I wanted to say that I never really we never really got into kind of other rando subjects. I think we kind of just dived into EVE and was just like, all up in that for pretty much all of the show. But I was hoping
shit's fucked, yo.
Yeah, I was hoping that we were going to basically, we might talk about, like, say, EVGA and the kind of like the thing that's happened there. But if you don't know what's happened with EVGA, they're going out of the graphics card market. If you're worried because you have an EVGA card and you're like, oh god, where is my support, etc. going to go? Don't worry, they're going to carry on supporting the cards that they already do. They are going to carry on selling the kind of like the card series that they have until they run out of the stock, kind of thing. But after that, apparently they're just basically not going to be they're not going to be sort of selling graphics cards, at least from Nvidia, anymore.
Yeah, your warranty's fine. You're going to be fine for the next few years if shit breaks under warranty and what have you. But yeah, who knows what EVGA are going to do next in terms of their hardware situation. They, at this point, now that they've announced this, are basically stuck with their motherboard, power supply. I think that might be about it, kind of PC component business. So it's going to be an interesting point in their market. But, like, apparently NVIDIA would just shit to work with. I'm not surprised, but equally, this is a major move for EVGA, and I hope they figure out.
Well,
they're a great company by and large.
Sorry?
Yeah. Firefly now, and then I think Meta Show is still going ahead in an hour or so.
I poked Brisk. Yes, their Meta Show is happening today. So yes, Meta Show in an hour, I believe. Good times. Anyway, guys, that'll be about it for us. And so yeah, we'll see you next week. Check out Meta Show in an hour, and till then, see you later.
Have a good week, guys. See you later.